afternoon, my name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again. This is the live match reaction just following the game there at the London Stadium. As you can see on the screen there, West Ham 2, Arsenal 2. Not the result that we wanted, not the result we should have got. We're going to get into it the other side of this. And joining us, of course, it is Neil. Melvin will be joining us as well in a little while. He's currently doing, he's on another watch along. I mean, mate, what can we say about that? Once again, 2 weeks running, we're playing for 20 minutes and it's not enough in away games in the Premier League, is it? I mean, to be honest with you, that first 10 minutes of that game, I thought we were going to win that 6-0. We were absolutely ripping them to pieces. And then suddenly we just switch off, make silly mistakes, and we're our own worst enemy, aren't we? Again, second week running.
I can't understand it, Rich, why we didn't learn from last week. Last week was so painful, was so dreadfully painful. I hadn't even got over it. 40 minutes, great football last week, only 20 minutes this week. And we just capitulate. One penalty, and it's all right. You concede a penalty, and then you just pick yourself up and think, we do what we've done all season, really, when the chips have been against us and we've answered the questions. We've gone down in games before this season and we've replied literally straight away. What's been different in these last two games? I don't get it. I think now it's really telling that the injury to Saliba is potentially could cost us the title, because since he's gone, I mean, look, Holding does bits and pieces, but he's just no Saliba. And it's not so much what Holding does. I think it's the relationship that Gabriel has had with Saliba has been so effective at the back. I think it's just costing us now, and which I just don't know what to say. I don't know why. I don't even remember the goals anymore because it's just all such a blur. I thought we were so unbelievable in the first few minutes as of last week. And I thought we cannot, lightning cannot strike twice. I can put a tweet out. It cannot strike twice. And it did. And I just don't know what to say. I'm lost for words. I know I'm normally going to speak for England, and I can't today, which I'm numb.
No, I mean, I totally understand. Someone who may be able to have some words for us is, of course, Melvin. Melvin, I mean, 2 weeks running, we were just saying there the same story, the same situation, the same things happening again. We have been in a position of complete control in the game, away from home, a difficult place to go, and we've literally shot ourselves in the foot 2 weeks running. I mean, ridiculous. How on earth has that happened again today?
I think I know the score's the same. It's 2-0. I think they're two different games. Liverpool are a decent team at Anfield. You've got to respect them. And we didn't give them 2 goals. We helped them along the way, but we gave them on a plate the first one when they were out of sight. We were out of sight of them. It was disgraceful. That first penalty, I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like, what you doing, Arsenal? They had no chance. This team was being played. It was just like, it started off like Fulham away, like Bournemouth away, like Brentford away. Complete control, 2-0. You could see the heads going down. Even the centre forward of West Ham, the strong, what's his name? Antonio. You could see his shoulders drop because he was going from left to right to right to left. Even before his mistake, I thought Partey didn't look the part. He was giving balls away. He just never looked right. And after he gave it away, his head went down. He should have come off a lot earlier, I thought. It's so frustrating. You know, and that second goal they got, where was our defence? You know what it was like today? It was like we played it away in a cup tie against, I'm being disrespectful for West Ham now, but that's what we did to them first 20 minutes. It's like we played away to a second division team and they got a draw and they're happy with it. And that is what it was like, because we should have been out of sight. Couldn't understand the substitutions at all. I mean, I was scratching my head. Couldn't understand why he never bought. I mean, I don't think Smith Rowe will play for us again, because if he can't get on this pitch today, really, when we need something in midfield and attack, he'll never. I mean, like I said, how can he get match fit when he don't play a match? Explain that to me, please, Richard and Neil. How can he do that? It's unbelievable. If he can't get, I mean, Saka had one, and nothing to do with the penalty. He had a poor game. I thought Martinelli had a poor game, but Saka was very lucky, or I think we were unlucky, that he stayed on the pitch for 90 minutes. How we couldn't switch in and say Smith Rowe, for example. And when you're looking to do something in the last 10 minutes, and you leave him on the bench and you put on Vieira, I think the lights are something to go on in Smith Rowe's head. If I was Smith Rowe, I'd be going, he obviously don't fancy me. And don't give me that he ain't fit. He's been training. Come on. He's been training. But Jesus has been out for ages. He brought him on for half a game to start with, didn't he? He could have done it. And he's done it with other players as well. It's unbelievable. And just to say the point, Neil, you're so right. He brings so much to the game, our game, Saliba, that you just can't write it down on a bit of paper. There's so much he gives. Gabriel was losing it today because basically he was playing in the back four by himself to a degree. He took all the responsibility, and nobody wanted to share the responsibility with him at the back. He was against Antonio. He had a tough guy to mark, and he had to clear up the mess that was going on around him. I felt sorry for him. So Saliba is a big miss. Big miss. And Holding, I mean, we've said it. Well, I've said it, and I've said it. He's all right to head the ball out from a long free kick or whatever. In the box, head it out, kick it out. He's all right. Once he has to do anything with the ball at his feet, forget it. He got outmaneuvered today. He got the wrong side of players today. He was lost. But I've got to say, for their equaliser, where was our defence for that one? Talk about asleep. It was like, hold on, that was Sunday morning football, wasn't it? Anyway, that's enough for me for the moment. You can talk.
No, it just makes. Sorry, I just want to say, it just makes that Europa game, so frustrating for me. I said it on I think it was the Purely Pod the other day. I was at that game, and I've never been at a game before. I swear to both of you, even when we've been losing, and I've never been to a game where I wanted to go home after those two injuries because I thought Tomiyasu out for the season. Didn't know it then, but it looked bad. Saliba off in 20 minutes of that game, and I thought, my goodness me, these are two key components in our defence that we've lost in 20 minutes of a cup competition, which, yes, of course, we want to win them, but surely I felt so bad that day. I just wanted the match to be over because even after that, our players were getting pummeled and going on the floor, and I'm thinking, how many players are we going to lose today? And I feel it's been so intrinsic. Look, I know we can talk about Partey having an really bad game. Saka, I think it's telling now, isn't it? He's been played to his limit for the last 3 years because he goes to England duty as well. He's just not had a break, the kid, and I'm not blaming him. I just think now it's showing that he's out of gas. You know, we could have brought on Emile Smith Rowe. What a wonderful point that is. Why? Well, I didn't even think about that until he brought it up. But why the hell is he not playing? Because he could be that engine. He could be that engine that can create something. He's got so much about him, that kid. And I've always said this. When Saka and Smith Rowe were playing and holding our team together, just about, I actually thought Smith Rowe was the better player. That's how much I regard him that highly. Because we know Saka is out of this world. I just think he's out of gas at the moment. I just think he's out of this world. However, I think Smith Rowe's got the potential to become even better. And you don't bring him on. This, for me, is a crisis. We've been pegged back to 2-2. This is a crisis because, you know, we've just about we can accept the draw at Anfield. But this was really a winning game for us. We had to win this game. You know, West Ham have been really a nothing team this season. They're a good team, but they're a nothing team this season. And they're not playing as well as they can. And they were there for the taking, which we showed in the first few minutes. And then it becomes a crisis and we make those substitutions. I mean, I don't understand it. We left Saka on for the whole game. Why? What was that about? I don't know what to say.
I mean, I think one of the reasons for me is why the injuries that we've been getting and that we've had and that we've got currently, the reason why that's such a big deal is because there's been a reluctance all season to change the team. So the relationships that they've built up because they've played together week after week. So when they don't play together, when other players have got to come in, they're never going to have that same relationship because they've not been playing together very much at all. And some of these players have hardly played. I mean, Rob Holding's come in. He's done okay. He's done what Rob Holding does. But when he, you know, in against a lot of opposition in the Premier League, he's going to be found out because he's just not good enough for that very top level, is he? And, you know, bless him, he tries his best. And he didn't have a terrible game today, but he was a weak link at the back because he's not at the same level. And yes, I'm not saying that Rob Holding should have played more games, but yes, the fact of the matter is that a lot of these players are not playing enough minutes. Kieran Tierney, he's made a glass. He gets a start, rare start, and one tackle he does in the second half, and he gets injured and has to go off. I mean, is that down to a lack of game time? Maybe, but he's not. He's never been fit anyway, has he? He's always getting injured when he used to play more regular. So I'm not sure about that. But I don't know. You can just see that. I mean, I said this a long time ago. You're not going to win the league title with 14 players. You're not. It's too much to expect from 14 players. You've got to be able to rotate your team. You've got to be able to rest players. You've got to bring players in, and you've got to still be able to win games. Man City do it. They've done it for years, and we aren't at that level. We haven't been at that level all season. We've got through the season up till now because we've played well, and we haven't had serious injuries long term to many good players. But suddenly we're getting one or two injuries, as we've said, and you can see that these players, even the players who came on today, Jorginho didn't look up to the pace, did he? He did okay, but he wasn't up to the pace of the game because he's not playing enough minutes. And the same for all of them. I mean, I agree. What Smith Rowe? If you're going to bring Vieira on instead of Smith Rowe, then there's something seriously wrong somewhere. I mean, that just makes no sense. Unless Smith Rowe isn't fit. If he's not fit, why is he on the bench for a start off? And if he is fit enough to be on the bench, when you're losing, well, not losing, but when you need something extra in the final third, why on earth are you bringing on Fabio Vieira, who's done nothing much this season, instead of Smith Rowe, we know his quality? I agree with you, Neil. He's a brilliant player. When he was at his best last season, he was fantastic. And what's happened? Yes, injuries, but he's got to be fit, or why is he there? I mean, that substitution for me, baffling. Absolutely. But last week, I'll tell you, I got a lot of criticism, didn't he, for bringing Kiwior on in the last few minutes of the game. A young player, maybe wasn't quite ready for the Premier League. So this week, he's completely changed it and made the substitutions that people would have expected. Trossard coming on, Jorginho coming on, which, okay, fair enough. They wasn't bad substitutions to make. But Vieira didn't understand that at all. Absolutely crazy. Made no sense whatsoever. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I do get the feeling, there's a comment here, I think it's from James, actually. Good to see you, James. Hope you're well, my friend. I know you've had a few problems sort of lately. Good to see you. He said, afternoon, all that was shocking today. The inexperience of the manager and squad and the arrogance of the manager and squad cost us today. Big reaction needed now. Well, you say a big reaction needed now. We needed a big reaction today from last week, and we didn't get it. So that doesn't fill me with a great deal of confidence that we're going to get the big reaction now. James says there, Pepper's lost 4 titles in his last 14 years. You've got to be note perfect to beat him. We're showing way too many cracks. Now, yeah, I mean, that's a point. The season Liverpool won the league, they basically won every game, didn't they? At the end, they had to, and they did, and that's how you have to do it. And we're not showing that, are we? Loki's in the chat. Loki says, afternoon, gents. We got what was coming today, yeah, and what's been coming. You're absolutely right. Terry's in the chat as well. How you doing? Terry says, afternoon, Richard, Neil and Magic. That was absolutely rubbish. Hate to say it, but Arteta ain't the man to take us forward anymore. I don't think we can quite say that at the moment because, we're still in a great position, but there's certain aspects of his management of the team in the last 2 weeks that, to me, are showing his inexperience, as James mentioned. And I think that's true. Inexperience was screaming at us today, wasn't it, Melvin? Yeah, go on.
I was just to say, which really upset me today and last week, but it was not as hard to take last week, is that when we got back to our old ways of when we're doing well and suddenly someone turns off our tap, we can't turn it on again. We never regroup and go again. It turns it off and all of a sudden you can't get the water running again. And that's exactly what happened today. I mean, they're not a good team, West Ham. They weren't playing the ball through us. It was a long ball, chase, try and get the second ball. I mean, that is like, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it because they knew that's the only way they could do it. But we shouldn't allow teams to do that. We've got 3 big centre halves playing in the back 4, right? We shouldn't be beaten like that. And we were. The second balls they were winning. And we made, and also then it was like a hot potato, the ball to us, wasn't it? We couldn't keep control of it. We didn't put any passes together for about 30 minutes. It was like, what's going on? Kicking it up in the air and shutting their eyes and just kicking it out for giving away corners when you could have given away throw-ons, when you could have controlled it and passed it. It was like they would do their options today were poor, and it looked like they'd lost a lot of confidence to me. And this will put even going into the next game. I'm glad we got Southampton at home on Friday because we need to win to get a bit of confidence back. Because if we were playing a decent team the weekend, I think we'd struggle. I really do. If we're playing Man City this weekend instead of Southampton, I think good night Vienna.
It's only
I
next week we play Man City, though, isn't it? It's only 10 days' time. It's not like it's a long. There's only one game between now and Man City anyway. So
yeah, but our shoulders are down. All right, it's not a great if we beat Southampton. If we beat Southampton, at least we might come on. You know, we might use that as a starting thing.
Yeah,
I think we could. That's what I'm saying. If we place Man City next week, we're finished.
Yeah, I agree with Melvin. I think that's it. I think Southampton is now the key game, and if we drop points there, that's it. It's over. I think if we can beat Southampton and somehow by some miracle, because we ain't going to beat City or get anything from them playing like this. Well, certainly after we capitulated in both the last two games, we won't get nothing. But if we can play, we can add the 20 minutes and the 40 minutes from the last two games and play like that for 90 against City. There's a chance we might get a point, or we might get even more. We don't know. But other than that, nothing. So that's why I've still got Champions elect there, because we're still only just we're still in control. If we can beat Southampton and we can get a point from City, that might get our heads back up. And then the talk of the last few games, with the notable one being Newcastle away, you know, we've got every chance still to maybe just ride home and win by a point, maybe. Which is funny because a lot of those computer statistical machines predicted us winning by 1 point. So it's starting to become more of a reality than it was before. But no, it doesn't seem like it at the moment. At the moment, it just feels like doom and gloom. And what have we done? We've worked so hard for 30 odd games, and we're just throwing it away now, right at the end. It feels very similar, but for a different reason, to last season, where we were in control. We were laughing at Tottenham not winning those 3 games in hand, and what did we do? We threw them away as well, and we were in utter control, and it was right at the death of the season. Same thing. This is the business end of the season. The last 10 games always is. It's so crucial. And yes, like, we can accept, very reluctantly on my part, the draw at Anfield, but not today. Can't accept it today. And you know, I think I felt I jinxed it in my own way, because I put a stupid tweet out saying, look at us, look at our identity. Our identity is the players play wherever they want. We had Jesus playing at right back at one point. We had Tierney set forward, and I thought, how does an opposition manager legislate for that? How can you manage that? You can't, as an opposition manager, because you don't know who to mark and who not to mark and where the players are going to be. And when it works, it's wonderful. But then it all went belly, tits up. I mean, sorry to swear, but it did.
I mean, it did, and the thing is, O'Neill, right? And I know that this is a different group of Arsenal players. It's a different manager, but we've seen this same thing happen for the last 15 years, haven't we? When we've been in a good position in the final run into the season. I can remember under Arsene Wenger, there was a game at West Brom once we drew 2-2 when we should have won the game, and this has happened so many times in historically.
Is that when the keeper was it Almunia made a diabolical mistake?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, there was there was one at Birmingham when we should have won a game at Birmingham and we drew. And all this has historically been what we've done, and it's a completely different team, it's a different mindset, it's a different manager. But yet here we are again doing the same things that we've been doing for 15 years. When it comes to the crunch, we don't have the mentality and the bottle to see it through. For whatever reason it is, this season I think it's a lack of depth, it's a lack of experience from both the players and the manager, as James said. I totally agree, and that's been clear the last 2 weeks. And it was interesting actually what Pep made an interesting comment, I thought, in his press conference the other day. What he said was, he was asked about the pressure at this point in the season. You're in the title race again, the pressure, it must be difficult, and he turned around and said, "This is what I live for. I don't care about the first half of the season. I don't care about games in October. I care about the games in March and April and May when you have to win." He says that we know what we have to do and we're ready to do it, and I'm excited about it. And that is exactly the difference. Arteta, I think, isn't excited about it. He's worried and he's frightened and he's scared, and I think the team are. And you can see it today. As soon as we got the 2-0 lead, and we were playing brilliantly at that point, we were absolutely ripping through them for fun for 10 minutes. Brilliant. This is going to be an unbelievable result. And then as soon as the thing that changed it for me was when Antonio had that run on Holding. He got past him, beat him, and it was nearly a penalty, wasn't it? Holding brought him down just outside the box. And that suddenly gave West Ham a lift. They started to think, you know what, we can maybe cause this team problems. And after that, the game changed completely. They got this silly penalty. And then that was it then. And it was a matter of, we were lucky to hold on for a point, really, wasn't we? In the end, the second half, West Ham were better than us and could have won that game, and that is from 2-0 up, that when you're top of the league going for the title, No, that's
We were
to
lucky.
me.
We were lucky
mentality.
they hit the bar, didn't they?
They did hit the bar near the end, that header,
Yeah.
and
He
they
was
could have won it.
offside. He was offside.
Oh, was it offside? Well, I think it was
Oh, okay.
offside. Yeah, I
Okay,
think it was
okay, fair
offside.
enough,
Yeah,
fair
but it was a
enough.
good chance, wasn't it? It was a good chance for them, and they had the better chances to win. Did we really look like we were going to score after when it was 2-2? I don't think we did.
No,
Obviously,
no,
the penalty,
no.
which you missed, but other than the penalty, we never looked like we were going to get another goal, did we? In that whole second half, it was really, really poor. We were slow moving the ball, and I don't know, really, really disappointing it was. James says Ramsdale was pathetic for it as well. Yeah, he should have saved it, quite honestly. I'm high to praise him like last week, but to have it bounce and flap at it like that was Timmy Chocolate. Yeah, I mean, it was a poor goal to concede. He should push that around the post. It was quite close to him. He got a hand to it. He should have saved it, quite honestly, but he didn't. Stan says it's difficult to play the perfect game 38 times. Just accept it. No one expects anybody, and it's not about playing a perfect game, is it? What it's about is when things aren't going your way, finding a way to win. That's what champions have to do. Doesn't matter how well you play. I don't care if we play terrible. I don't want to see the last two games, if you're neutral, to watch them two games last week and this week. Brilliant games of football, exciting, end-to-end stuff, goals flying in, excitement, teams coming from behind, penalty misses, all kinds of drama, right? I don't want to see that. I want to see boring 1-0 wins. I don't care how crap we play. But unfortunately, we're not able to do that, are we? And it's not about the perfect game. It's about the right result, isn't it? It's the right results. And that's what's more important than the perfect. I don't think anyone expects a perfect game, but we just need to get the points that we need.
Mark, I think it's a lot more damage. Richard, I think the last 2 games has done as far more damage being 2-0 up and not winning than drawing 0-0 or 1-0. Far more damage mentally for this team.
I think so as well. Yeah. Mark says, I've not been that angry over a second half showing in ages. When we needed Xhaka and Partey to show their experience and leadership and get a grip, they didn't show up. Yeah, I mean, not just those two, but you make a good point again. It's leadership and experience, which we lack in general in the team and the squad. We have got some experience there. And yes, in the second half, they didn't really show any of that. And the captain, what's the captain doing? The captain of this team, where's he gone? You know what I mean? He's getting taken off again towards right at the end of the game, to be fair. But what influence did he have? He got a great goal. He was good for 10 minutes. What did he do when things were going against us? Where was the captain's role in that team? We look back to some of the captains Arsenal have had, Vieira and Tony Adams, and they were able to lift the team. What did he do? I didn't see him do anything after that. After he scored, what did he do? Martin Odegaard, a couple of little fancy flicks. Brilliant. I'm sorry, mate. You're the captain of this club. You should be leading this team on that pitch, and you didn't. Again, and these are issues, aren't they? I don't know. It's just I can't get my head around the fact that for two games in a row we've been in a position to have won a game away from home, which is not easy, and we've just thrown it away. We're our own worst enemy.
That's why I say it's the worst thing. Being 2-0 up, 2 weeks running, it's going to do that. They'd be frightened to score a goal, Arsenal.
But the thing is that we have to start well for 10 minutes, because if we're not 2-0 up, we're going to lose. Because let's face it, we've been really, really poor for 70 minutes today, for 60 minutes last week. If we hadn't started well in them two games, we would have lost them both. And okay, it's 2 points less, which would be, we'd only be hanging on at the top, wouldn't we? So yeah, I mean, Steve says they're very poor again. Arteta outsmarted himself again. Poor, yeah, he sort of did outsmart himself. He does it a lot. He overthinks things. He never seems to understand when things aren't going well, what needs to change, how he can make an impact. I don't know what he says at half time. I don't know what he said at Anfield last week. I don't know what he said today. But both games, we've just conceded a goal before half time. The home team have got momentum, haven't they? And in the second half, they're going to want to push that on.
Rich, I think he has a better team talk when we're losing or drawing at half time, because I've noticed so many times this season.
I agree.
It's not every game, but a lot of them, we can't seem to sustain. A little bit of what Stan said there. We can't seem to sustain a good 90 minutes of football. I'm not saying perfect football, but a good 90 minutes. A lot of times where we've had maybe a poorer half, he's done the team talk at half time, and we played a lot better in the second half and gone on and won the game, right? The last two games, we started off better and then not sustained it. Why can't we just play 75% of the good stuff for 90 minutes? I'd rather that. Do you see what I'm trying to say? To give us a chance. And so I agree. What? All right. The last week was slightly different. We all know, as much as I was so upset about last week, and still am, to be fair, Anfield is still a blooming hard stadium to go to. City, United, and Newcastle all lost there. We didn't, right? So that's maybe a little bit of a positive to take from it. And also, we were the first team to score there, in 2023. So it's no easy task. We done well if you look at it from that perspective. However, I'd rather us have been 2-0 up where Liverpool were playing that as well as they did in the second half all throughout the game. And then I'd accept the 2-2 a lot more easily, if that makes sense. But we were so dominant. Why can't we carry just even 50% of it, if not 75% of that through to the second half? Like today, why didn't we carry the first 10 minutes or the first 20 minutes rather and just have a little bit of that even if in patches throughout the remainder of the first half or even in the second half? We were just wayward. We were just sloppy. And I don't know whether it's complacency, whether we thought, look at us, we're steamrolling. It was almost like watching a testimonial. It was like watching an exhibition match, the way we were pummeling them in the first 20 minutes. Did they then think that, oh my God, we could just go into first gear and we'll win this 4-0 anyway? Did they have a bit of that? I don't know. I just think that the next few, we can only draw one and win the remaining games. Was it 6 left now? 7 left? I don't know how many we've got left. We've got to hopefully draw against City and win all the rest. If we don't, that's it. That's the end.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I know, it seems, obviously at the start of the season, we've almost qualified for the Champions League, haven't we now? I think we need another, I think we win Friday and we've qualified for the Champions League, but which was what we'd set ourselves as a goal at the start of the season, right? And we're going to achieve that. And we're frustrated. Of course, we're frustrated because the position that we're in, we're in the position to win the Premier League, and these opportunities don't come around very often, do they? They certainly haven't done in recent years. So I think we're very frustrated with the fact that to be in the position that we've been in, not only in the table in the season, but in the last 2 games, to have been in that position in the game, that dominant. To not win those 2 games it's incredible that we've done it 2 weeks in a row. At Liverpool, you can think, okay, fair enough. I agree with you, Neil. Liverpool's a difficult place to go. We've been hammered there the last 5 or 6 years. And, they equalised, 2 minutes from time, whatever it was, a late goal. And you're thinking, okay, we'll take a 2-2 at Liverpool. Not ideal from being 2-0 up, but that's not the end of the world. But to do the same thing again, the very next game against a West Ham team, the crowd were booing their team. They were booing. We were 2-0 up. The crowd were booing. How on earth do you not win that game from that position?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They were all my a lot of friends that I've got at West Ham can't stand the manager. They want him out. They think the season's over. They're happy to stay up, and we're 2-0 up. Their heads are dropping, and we just let them back in. We just stop.
Yeah,
and it's so depressing.
How have we allowed that? How did we allow that to happen? At that point, that game is done. West Ham were done. Their fans were done with them. The players, as we said, their heads were down. They'd gone, West Ham. And how can you, from a position of such control? I mean, I know people were saying. I mean, I've seen some comments that Man City got sloppy in the last 15 minutes yesterday, but they were 3-0 up. That game was won. We were 2-0 up after 10 minutes and we started getting sloppy after 20 minutes, and we allowed, I mean, you always got the feeling with Man City that had Leicester got a second goal yesterday, Man City would have gone up the other end and got another 1 or 2, just because you just felt they'd had that control. We never look like we've got that control. As soon as we concede a goal, as soon as something goes against us in the game, we seem to find it difficult to move on from that and get away from that and change it. And it's like it took us a good after West Ham made it 2-2. It took us a good 15 minutes to even pass the ball to an Arsenal player. 15 minutes after they scored, and then we had a little spell of possession, but we never looked like scoring ever. Well, what happened to that first 10 minutes? We moved the ball quickly. We got in round the sides. We were doing it all the time, and suddenly we stopped doing it. And West Ham adapted to it, but
from the second goal, the gap between the second goal we scored and then the next shot on target was incredible.
I know it was
ridiculous. I think it was Martinelli, and I remember the commentator saying that's the first shot they've had since the second goal they scored. I'm like, wow. I mean, that's telling, isn't it? That tells a story in itself.
You know what might be the difference? Sorry, no, carry on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, just very quickly, Rich, I agree with you. The last 2 games, things have gone wrong, and we haven't been able to know what to do. I wouldn't say that's the story of the season, because there's been so many games where we've been gone behind or we've conceded a goal and we've reacted straight away. What's happened to that? What's happened to that Arsenal?
Neil, it's pressure. It's the pressure of being top of the league. It's the pressure of
Yeah.
closing in on a title race. That's what it is. It's the pressure of not having the experience. How many of these players today that started that game, apart from Jesus, how many of them have won a league title? None of them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, okay, Kieran Tierney won one in Scotland, but Jesus Christ, anyone can win a league title in Scotland. But none of them have won a league title apart from Jesus, because obviously Zinchenko was out today. And you can see it's the pressure, Neil. To me, it's the pressure of being in the position that we're in the league and knowing that any slip-ups Man City are going to pounce on. And it's dealing with that. And that's what I think we've been struggling with. I think that's why we can come back against Bournemouth and we can do those other Aston Villa away and all that kind of stuff. You know, late goals, we can turn these things around. Then there was less pressure then. Every game now, the pressure's more. Next Friday, there's more pressure on us now. Man City, even more pressure. The game after that, there'll be even more pressure. As Melvin keeps saying, this is the biggest game since the last biggest game. And it's that pressure. They must be reading it, Melvin. I think they're reading your comments every week and they can't deal with that pressure. That's what it is. You can see they're shrinking.
It is pressure, but I'll tell you what I think it might be as well. I think they're running out of energy. Perhaps they can only do it for 10
minutes. There's that as well. Yeah. There is that as well. And that is to do, again, what we said before. We're not making enough rotation to the squad. We haven't done all season. We're expecting the same 13, 14 players to be able to perform week after week after week after week. And then we get one or two injuries, players come in that aren't ready. And it's a mixture of, I agree. I think we are running out of steam. We are running out of energy. I think it's the fact that we have made so few changes to the starting 11 all season, the least by a mile of any other team in the Premier League. Probably the least ever since. You remember, it used to be the days, didn't it, back in the 80s and even in the 90s when you had smaller squads and you'd win the league just playing 16. But I think Aston Villa won the league with 14 players, didn't they? Only 14 players ever made an appearance for them, right? And it's almost like it hasn't happened for 25, 30 years. That just doesn't happen. The big squads and everything like that. And Arsenal have gone back to that this season. We think we can win the league with 14 players and we can't, because now the pressure's more, the intensity of the games is more, the physicality of the games is more. We just cannot. You're not able to do that. You've got to use your squad. You've got to rotate. You've got to rest and rotate. And I'm not saying rotate everybody in one go, but you've got to do it sensibly. You make two changes here and there, two different changes in the next game. Keep people playing. You know, people have been sat on the bench. I mean, Smith Rowe must have blisters on his arse from sitting on that bench for so long. You know, and he's not the only one, is he? That's done it all season. There's been players on there that have hardly come on, and some don't even get on the bench. It's like, I don't know.
Like even more reason.
Yeah, like you said, Neil. No, sorry. Like you said, Neil. To me, Smith Rowe is one of the most exciting talents in the country. I think he's amazing.
Easily,
I really do.
Hands down. Hands down. Well, even more, going on both your points earlier, if Smith Rowe's fit, because I completely agree with you, Rich. If he wasn't fit, what's he doing on the bench? If you're not fit, you're not on the bench. It's simple mathematics, right? It's common sense. So if he must be fit if he was on the bench. He has to play on Friday. He has to give someone else a rest, give them that little bit of rest. I remember when Xhaka started dropping off. Do you remember he had a couple of 2-3 games? And there was one, it still came on in the game that he was rested, but he didn't start. And then he got back to his old Xhaka for we had that run of 7 wins and then we drew obviously with Liverpool. But he started showing a little bit of his old self again. Rest a couple of the key players on Friday. Bring on the Smith Rowes. You know, bring these guys on. Maybe start Trossard. I don't know. But just do something different to give those guys a rest. But at the same time, you know, I don't know if Arteta will do it because he knows how important Southampton is now. And he might just go with what he's familiar with, and
that's what I think.
I don't know.
That's exactly what I think. Because now there's big, as Melvin said, there's big pressure on the Southampton game now. He's not going to make changes to that team because he's going to stick to what he knows. That's what he's going to do. I'll be amazed. We don't know whether Zinchenko is going to be available Friday. If he is, you imagine he's going to come in anyway because Tierney looked as though he got a knock now at the end. Other than that, I can't see too many changes to the team at all because that is what Arteta's been about all season. I mean, Jerome's in the chat. He's made a good point, actually. He says, I don't think Arteta was rotated that much because the difference in quality between the first 11 and the rest is pretty big. It is, and that is an issue that we know we've had. The squad depth hasn't got the quality that we know. But what you've got to do then, you've got to manage the squad that you've got. Like I said, you make 1 or 2 changes here and there. So you give players minutes on the pitch and you get them used to playing a little bit more. And then say, for example, one week you put Vieira in And then the next week you maybe put Vieira in again to give him another game and put Ødegaard back in and take someone else out. And then you maybe rotate one or two others, just doing little rotations like that, just to keep everybody fresh and everybody up to the pace of the Premier League. And then when they do have to come in, if they are needed to play 6-7 games in a row, as Rob Holding's having to do now, they're ready because they've been playing minutes before. They've been coming on and starting games and getting game time on the pitch on a more regular basis. So they're playing in the relationships in the team, and also as well, they're actually ready to play because they've had minutes. And we've not used the squad. Yes, I agree that the drop off in certainly in a lot of the positions is quite high. I totally agree with that, and that is an issue that we do need to put right over the summer and over the next couple of transfer windows. We need to improve the quality. We did do that in January. Trossard, Jorginho today, 2 players on the bench came on. They've got quality. Didn't make the impact today that we would hope for, but at least we need more of them type of quality of players, don't we, on the bench to be able to come on and to rotate more often. That's what we do need. You're right, but I just think you have to use what you've got. You can't just stick with the same players week after week, because we are seeing now, and Melvin's totally right. They look as though they've got nothing left. They've run out of statement. We're starting games well because we're fresh for 10 minutes at the start. We're flying out the blocks. We're getting some great football. We're getting the goal, and then we're running out of legs and we're running out of ideas, and we're not able then to raise that level again when we need to, when it goes against us later in the game, and that is now catching up with us a little bit, I think.
Do you think, Richard, if he I don't think he will, if he says, you know what, I need to make some changes, freshen things up a bit, do you honestly think he'll put Smith Rowe on the first 11? I don't.
No, not on Friday. Absolutely no chance. No, of course he won't. No. The only player who might get a start on Friday may well be Trossard from the bench, potentially. He may do that. He won't leave Jesus out because he's just come back from injury, and I think he wants to get him back in the games a bit more. But certainly Saka or Martinelli, I can see one of those two being left starting on the bench, and Trossard. He's not going to start anybody else, is he? Really, other than Zinchenko, if he's fit, he's going to come in again, isn't he? But he's not going to do that. He won't put Smith Rowe in the starting lineup against Southampton. I will be shocked. I'd be speechless, like Neil was at the start. I'll be speechless if Smith Rowe starts on Friday against Southampton. Absolutely.
He's probably forgotten his name.
He probably has. I don't know, but something's not right there, is it?
No.
I know he's been injured a lot. He's not had a great season injury-wise. We know that. He was out for ages, wasn't he? And that's obviously had a big impact. But as we've said, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to come on when we need a goal or we need something in the last 15 minutes of a game. Surely he's got 15 minutes in him. If he's not 100% fit to start a game, surely he's got 15 minutes in him. But wasn't it Smith Rowe came on in a game, didn't he, recently, quite early because of an injury, and then he got taken off again, didn't he? And he's not played since then.
That might have been the European game.
Was it the European game? I know there was a game, wasn't there? Someone got injured early on. He came on after about 15, 20 minutes, didn't he? And then he got taken off again about 65, 70 minutes.
Yes, that's right. I don't know what game it was, but you're right.
And he's not played since then. So is there some sort of issue? Did Smith Rowe have a word with Arteta and said, you know what, what you're doing to me, what you're doing to my career? Has that happened? Has there been some sort of issue between him and the manager? Or is it just a simple fact that now, with the system that we play, does Smith Rowe not fit into Arteta's way of playing in the same way that Kieran Tierney doesn't seem to as much anymore? He never gets a game, does he? He got one today because Zinchenko couldn't play. Is it a similar sort of thing? Is Arteta too? I don't know. Is he too rigid in how he's got to play? And players now, the system that we've got doesn't suit them, or he doesn't feel that it suits him.
You reckon?
So he's not.
You're telling me a player like Vieira fits in more to the way we play than Smith Rowe? Well,
I mean, Vieira was bought, wasn't he, by Edu and by Arteta last summer for a reason, and maybe they do see Vieira as the player to play who can play that role better than Smith Rowe can. Maybe, I don't know. That seems to be what's happened, doesn't it? He's a player. Don't forget, Smith Rowe was already at the club, and and Vieira's a player that Arteta has brought in, or he's been brought in since Arteta's been there, whether it was Arteta signing or Edu signing or both, we're not really sure. Marco's in the chat, he says Arsenal's problem is that they're too confident. Well, we was at the beginning, maybe. 2 goals up is the time to shut up shop. forget what the fans say about it. Winning is all the end all. So no, you're right. I mean, I agree. You've got to be able to do it. I mean, after 10 minutes of a game, you're tuning up. It's quite difficult to shut up shop for 80 minutes, isn't it? When you're away from home, I suppose. But it's game management, isn't it? I think that's what it is. It's managing that game better than what we did after last week as well. We were poor in game management last week. It was poor today. I mean, I know that there was that 5 minutes, wasn't it, in the second half when we get the penalty to go 3-1 up, and that would have killed the game. I'm sure that would have killed the game. And you know, we're not gonna have a go at Saka. We're not going to do that because he's been brilliant. He's got us out of so many problems, and it was a bad penalty. Let's be honest. You've got to hit the target, at least make the keeper save it. But he missed it, and then 5 minutes later they score, and from what should have been 3-1, and it's 2-2, and that had a massive impact on the game. But even if Saka scored that penalty, it wouldn't have hidden a lot of these issues in the way that we had been playing up till that point. Would it really? You know, it would have given us a 2-goal advantage again, and we may well gone on to won the game. But I don't know. There seems to be. I mean, I'm like Neil at the beginning. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, other than it's the extra pressure now over the last couple of games that you don't have before, because you think, oh, we've got 12 games left, we've got 15 games left. You know, suddenly, oh, we've got 8 games left, and it's not the same, is it? It's not. You're not in the same mental situation. It is a lot more difficult. Terry says there, Saka got a clause in his contract that he can't be taken off. Well, it seems to be the case, but maybe he keeps him on because he knows that Saka can, in one moment, do something special. Even if he's not having a great game, he might be able to create a goal or.
He never looked like it today, Richard. He never looked like it.
No, I agree. He didn't. And I think he definitely got affected by the penalty. You could see after that, his game. He wasn't great before it, to be honest. But yeah, he was really. You could see it affected him after the penalty as well. So yeah, this would have been the game to take him off, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. If you're going to take him off ever, take him off today. You know, in the last. You could
headline it if you were doing a review tomorrow night. You could headline it a game of 2 penalties.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's just funny, isn't it? Because last week there was a penalty missed in the early part of the second half that Liverpool missed, and they went on and got a result anyway. And then we missed a penalty. There's virtually the same point in the game this week, and it cost us the points in the end. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? Marco says, I'm a Newcastle fan that can remember when we were 10 points clear with about 6 games left. Yeah, no, I remember that one. Yeah, the Kevin Keegan meltdown was it? Middlesbrough sake, wasn't it? And we all remember that. I mean,
I love it. I definitely love it.
Yeah, I mean that was probably the best ever post-match interview there's ever been on Sky, hasn't it? It was brilliant. But how Newcastle didn't win that title that year,
unbelievable.
I don't know, and I wouldn't quite say we've not quite been in that position. I've never felt, although we've had an advantage on City. It's never been such a big advantage that we felt almost like we can't possibly not win this now. Whereas that season with Newcastle, they were so far clear, thinking they've won the title, and then it all went wrong, didn't it? Very quickly. It just goes to show it can do, can't it? I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it'll be a similar situation for us if we don't win the title this year. We would have blown it. There's no doubt. We've had the advantage. We've been top all season. We were clear of Man City not that long ago, and suddenly now we're 4 points clear. They've got a game in hand, and we've got to go to their ground away next week.
Richard, we could actually be 7 points clear before we play them, because if we beat Southampton, they're not playing, are they?
They'll still have 2 games in hand, though, won't they?
They'll have the games in hand, but they're not playing us now. They're not. Their next game is us. So in theory, that's the more significant. I mean, the Southampton games are must win anyway. But it's even more so just for that tiny bit. I'm trying to shed my own light here. Just that tiny psychological advantage. I know it doesn't make any difference to City at all because they're just machines. But, to be 7 points clear going into that game, that, and then if we draw, it will still be 7 points. I know they'll have.
Richard, Neil, there's too many ifs, mate. Too many ifs.
I know. We just got to win then. All right, I'll shut up.
Stan says, I'll take my hat off. That's the sack. I'm not using penalties to stat pad. Well, I mean, he has done, hasn't he? He's scored all his penalties for Arsenal. It was the first one he's missed actually since the Euro final. So he's certainly usually reliable, isn't he, from the penalty spot? I'm not quite sure. Again, is it pressure?
He missed one in the cup, European side, didn't he? Though the other week, when we got knocked out in the cup.
Oh, in the shootout, you mean?
Yeah,
in the penalty shootout.
He missed one then, didn't he? He was the one that missed it, didn't he?
No, it was Martinelli. Martinelli.
Martinelli.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Martinelli. Yeah. I
Because
think
in the caption, before he took the penalty, they had one red one. So what was that then?
yeah, that was the England one. That was the England one in the Euro.
I
He's
thought,
never
what
missed
was
one
that?
for
What
Arsenal.
was that? Oh, I didn't know that.
Must have been because he's never missed one for Arsenal, has he? I don't think he's
I
ever
didn't
missed
know
one.
that. If you say so. Right.
No, I don't think he has. So that's what I was assuming. That must have been the Euros one, that red one that they put up, because I don't remember him missing one for Arsenal, unless he has done that I've forgotten about. Not really sure. Stan says I always knew those 2 stolen Brentford points would come back to haunt us. Yeah, but you see, you say that though, Stan, and we've in the last 2 weeks we've thrown away 4 points ourselves, so that's our own fault. So those 2 Brentford points, we've just lost 4 ourselves in the last 2 weeks. So technically, we're still 2 points behind. Even if we'd beaten Brentford, we'd still be 2 points behind where we should be, because we've just thrown away 4 points in the last 2 weeks. So it kind of disregards that now. At the time, you could maybe say that, but not now. After these last 2 weeks, we've thrown away. We've thrown away
We
points.
can't blame. We can't. No, we can't. I agree. We can't. And also the Brentford one. In all fairness, they had a dodgy decision when they should have scored a goal. So
Which has been admitted as well.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't like making excuses. I don't like using excuses like referees and this, that, and the other. No, the referees' decisions are crap. They're crap for everybody. It's over 38 games, isn't it? You win the league over 38 games. You don't win the league over 1 crappy refereeing decision or 2 crappy refereeing decisions. We've had the opportunity in the last 2 weeks. We should have an extra 4 points on the board. That put us 8 points clear of City with another game to play before they play. That's our own fault. That's not the referee's fault. That's not VAR's fault. That's our own fault for not winning these last 2 games from 2-0 up when we should have done. So that's the way it is. And I think over the course of the season, these are the things that win or lose your titles, not refereeing decisions here, there, and whatever. It's our own performances on the pitch that we control. And the last two games in particular, we have thrown away some massive points. And if we lose the league by anything less than 4 points, we'll look back on these 2 games, won't we? 2-0 up away from home, we should have won them, and that's what we'll look back on. We won't look, well, some people might look back on Brentford. I personally won't. I'll look back on this game against West Ham when for 20 minutes the West Ham had gone. They were there for the taking. And that was 2 points that we've thrown away. So that negates that Brentford game anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult now though, isn't it? Because, yes, Southampton Friday is I say it's a good game for us to play. They are fighting for their lives. They need everything. They're not going to come to the Emirates. I mean, the worst teams to play at this point in the season are teams with something to fight for. Because there's some teams like Brentford. Brentford have started losing games now because they're safe from relegation. They can't get into Europe. They're the teams you want to play. You want to get loads of those games at the end of the season, because when you're playing teams that haven't got much to play for, and you've got something really important that you want to win, sometimes that makes that little big thing can make a big difference. And at the moment, look at the teams that we've got. We had West Ham today. They were fighting for their lives. As soon as they got something in the game, they had something to fight for. They needed a point or something from the game. Southampton are fighting for their lives. They need something on Friday. We got Man City. We know how difficult that is. We've got to play Newcastle. They're fighting for the top 4. Teams with things to fight. Who have we got to play with? Nottingham Forest. We've got to play them. They'll still be fighting relegate. The only team we've got probably with nothing to play for will be Wolves on the last game, because they'll probably be safe by then. And will the last game matter anyway? Will it be too late? But you look at all the other teams that we've got to play. They've all got something to fight for, whether it's fighting to get in Europe, Brighton fighting to get in Europe. Another team that we've got to play. They've all got something to play for, haven't they? I want to be playing the teams you want to be playing at Brentford. You want to be playing Crystal Palace, really, because although they've had a good run, they've not got nothing to play for, really. And if you've got that little bit more about you don't want to play anyone who's fighting relegation, or anyone that's fighting to get into Europe or obviously winning the title. You don't want to play them teams.
Thank God for Pat Frank then. We got 1 game. Chelsea.
Actually, yeah, Chelsea. I've got Chelsea. That's Chelsea. Yes, the Chelsea and Wolves. We got 2 games we'll probably definitely win because they've got nothing to play for. Although Chelsea probably have got something to play for, haven't they? Because having Frank come back in, he's going to have to do something for the end of the season, isn't he? Or he's on his bike again, isn't he? So that'll be. So they have got something to fight for. Maybe.
Did he get sacked this season? It was this season, right? He got sacked, wasn't it? Earlier this season. Was it this season or last season? When did he get sacked?
No, it was last. It was the season before.
Last season.
It was Tuchel, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, of course it was. It was too cool.
Frank Lampard actually got sacked from Chelsea at the time when we were in sort of 14th, 15th place, and a lot of people thought Arteta should have been sacked at that time, and it was Frank Lampard got sacked. Do you remember we beat Chelsea, didn't we, at the Emirates that time?
Boxing Day. Boxing Day? Was that Boxing Day?
Yeah. And then Frank Lampard got sacked soon after that, didn't he? And then Tuchel came in. They won the Champions League, and then obviously he's now been sacked. But so he could get sacked twice in like 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
The first time that's happened. Was there any manager ever been sacked twice in 2 years at the same club? I don't think they have. Incredible. Anyway, Marco says they don't want to jinx Arsenal, but this smells of last season for the Champions League play. No, you're right. 100%. Neil said that before. I agree with you. It does. It does. And this has always been my worry as the season's going on, and my worry was always that last season. Well, it's not just last season. Last season we were in a great position. We blew it at the end. The season before we blew a semi-final in the Europa League. The season before that, we blew something else as well. I can't remember what it was now, but we've done it on a consistent basis. We've sort of thrown things away later on in the season, and it's been a theme. And that has always been my slight concern with us this season. And the last 2 weeks have just kind of reinforced that a little bit more, that it is gonna happen again. And I must admit now, I'm starting to think that as much as I know Neil's still confident that we'll win the league by a point, I'm starting to have my doubts now. I mean, Melvin, how do you see now, between now and the end of the season? Obviously, there's only, 8 games left, whatever it is, 7 games left. How do you see this working out for us now with the fixtures that we've got, the way Man City are playing? Can we still do this? Or do you think now that the cracks are starting to appear too much?
I think the cracks have appeared. I think we've run out of energy. And I think that once City even go level with us on points, it's over. They don't need to get ahead of us, even 1 point or level on points. It's over, because once they hit that front, that's it. It's like a horse race. That's it. So I'm not very confident. It's a shame. I think we've got to learn from this season. We've got to regroup. We'll be a year older, a year more experience. I hope their heads don't drop. When you lose a cup final, Wembley, over the years, sometimes a team wins the final the next year. It's happened with Liverpool, I think, with Man United. I think it's happened with us, and we've got to take something from that. So let's stamp out. Let's stand to be second, and it's an outside chance to be top, right? And on that, let's learn something, and next season get a couple of players that will improve us with a bit more heart, perhaps less players to make bad mistakes just outside our box like Partey did today. I can't forgive him for that. He was outside our box. Didn't he give away was it Liverpool last week? He gave the ball away again. I think of another game. We gave it away. Was he the prelude to their first goal? Partey? No,
I can't remember now. To be honest, he may have been. He has done that a couple of times, hasn't he? He does do that in games, Thomas Partey, doesn't he? It's almost like he sometimes appears quite laid back, doesn't he? When he's got the ball, he's quite like sort of wants too much time sometimes, and he's done it before, hasn't he? He's given the ball away in dangerous areas. That isn't the first time he's done it today. He's done it a few times. It's just obviously.
If you're as a midfield player, if you're in the midfield or you're playing forward, you can take liberties. You can take a chance. You can't do it if you're a yard outside your box, because the risk reward in your mind must tell you, don't do it. Don't be clever. Do the easy thing. Give it or whack it away. And he just can't do it. And a lot of them can't do it, and it showed up again. It just showed our frailties with our centre half holding. He's not good enough. And he's all right, does a job for us, but a job doesn't mean he's a footballer. He does a job, and that's fine. No. But when he's needed, when push comes to shove, it ain't going to happen with him. It's a shame. He even had a chance. I know it looked difficult, and Gabriel should have done the same last week against Liverpool. Got a good chance of a header, clean header, and I thought he should have done a lot better with it. For a big lad who wins quite a few balls in the air, going forward as well, he never scores a goal with his head. I think he scored one that I can recall. So
he scored the winner against West Ham last year, didn't he? Oh, he wasn't the winner. He scored the first goal, didn't he, last season against West Ham?
Yeah.
When we won, but I've always thought Rob Holding is he's got mistakes in him, hasn't he? He's a player. He's played pretty well for a few games, but he's got a mistake in him. And if you're the other team, you look at Rob Holding, you think, let's get at him. He can be got at with a bit of pace around him. You know, he can be got at, and it's been proven too many times over the last few years, unfortunately, for Rob Holding. And he's a nice guy. He's got lovely hair and all that kind of stuff, and you know, he's great hairband and whatnot. And you know, he looks the part, doesn't he? But unfortunately, when it comes down to playing football, he's not quite at the level that we need, is he? And he's been found too many times, unfortunately. And we may well have to. He may well be playing for the rest of the season because we're not even sure what's happening with Saliba at the minute, do we? Fitness wise, so he may have to play a few more games yet. If he plays away at Man City, I know he did okay in a cup game, but if he has to play at Man City next week, I would be really worried about him up against Haaland, because Haaland will just make him look silly. Let's be honest, he would make him look very silly. And that's not what we need. And Marco says there, it doesn't help when Man City can play two teams that are capable of beating any team in the world. Yeah, no, exactly. You're right. It doesn't help. And I'm sure in a couple of years' time, Newcastle will have two teams that can beat most teams as well with all the money that they've got. So it won't be too long. So you can probably say we can say the same about Newcastle, perhaps. But no, you're right. It's not. And this is what I'm saying about, you know, you've got to have that squad now. You've got to, because if you don't have a squad good enough to do that, you're not going to be able to win the big trophies, because it's tough out there. And yeah, when you look at the two squads, Arsenal and Man City, you know, the fact that we're going to be running them so close, even if it does turn out to be in vain in the end, you know, you have to say that we've overperformed what would have been expected of us to have been taken them as far as we're taking them with our squad compared to their squad. We have done well in the circumstances, but it's still going to be really frustrating not to win a title in a position that we found ourselves in. When was the last time we wasn't top of the league? I think was it after Man City beat us? They were briefly top, weren't they? And then they didn't play the next week. I think they top when they beat us at the Emirates back in, was it January?
I think they might have been. But what's upset me, they're a great team, City. There's no doubt about it. And what I'm upset about is that I don't mind if they beat us, but we're beating ourselves at the moment.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, well, we are. But then we were always going to have. We're in a position of that because we had the advantage. We had the points on the board. We've had the lead on them for quite some time, and it was always going to be as to lose, wasn't it? We said this a while ago.
Yeah, it makes no difference. What I'm saying is that we weren't playing City and they were beating us. It was our own deficiencies, nothing to do with City, right? That's what I'm saying. We've beaten ourselves.
No, you're right. And we're the ones that's throwing away the points. But equally, Man City have still got to win their games, haven't they? They've still got to win. They've got to capitalise on our mistakes, haven't they? And that's what they've been doing, and that's what they look as though they're going to continue to do.
They've done it to Liverpool twice, haven't they? They've beaten Liverpool by 1 point 2 seasons, haven't they? So
I think if they beat us, Neil, I think if Man City beats for the title, if they do, hope they don't. If they do, I think it'd be more than 1 point.
Yeah. Marco says there'd be a travesty if you don't win anything. Well,
I feel that
it may well be, but unfortunately, football and sport is quite a ruthless business, isn't it? You don't always get what you maybe feel that you deserve. And over a season, the best team over 38 games wins the league, don't they? Let's face it.
Yeah.
If Man City win it, they were the best team, and they've got the best team. They've certainly got the best squad, even if they maybe don't have to. Our starting 11, our first 11 is as good as anyone, but they've definitely got the depth, and that's the way it is, really. But yeah, it is how we respond now, isn't it? I mean, how do you see this playing out then, Neil? Now between now and the end of the season, obviously massive pressure on us now, isn't it? Going into Friday, we have to win that game and then go into Man City. Hopefully, that can lift everybody. But that's the game, isn't it? That one next Wednesday night, whoever wins that game wins the league, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, funny you should bring that up. I was only speaking to someone yesterday. I can't remember who for the life of me. And I said, for the first time this season, I'm now nervous. This is before today's game. I've been super confident all throughout. And then I said, today is the first time I'm nervous. And this is me talking yesterday. And I'm nervous about every single remaining game. And I can't talk, I can't even talk ahead of Southampton's game. That's it. We just need to win that. And that's it. And then we'll see. We regroup. Hopefully we'll have no injuries coming out or any further injuries coming out of that game. And we have to just do the best we can against City. We've got to play. We can't. I felt that in the last two games, we've got sucked into the opposition's team's way of playing and their tactics and whatnot.
Yeah, we have.
We've been suckered in by the crowd at Anfield, and then we've been suckered in today with God knows what. It's not just about our capitulation. I think we've got to just do what we have been doing all season, and we've failed to do that in the last 2 games for a bulk of the game, and that's cost us the points, or cost us the wins. So we just got to play our game against City and hope for the best, and maybe we get lucky, we get a good decision that goes our way. I can't, footballing wise, City and Arsenal have been the best 2 teams in the land this season. There's no doubt about that. And we've just got to play our very, very best, our optimal best, and hope for the best, and hope for maybe a lucky something. I mean, a draw will be fine as long as we beat Southampton. A draw at City will be fine, but then we've still got to then go on and win our remaining games. I can't see where City are dropping points other than us, potentially Brighton, but we've got to play Brighton as well. So I think they've got Brighton away.
It's too far ahead. It's just take.
No, I know it is too far. It is. I think you're right, Melvin. We got to just look at one game at a time and just hope for the best. And it's injuries. It's us not beating ourselves, as Melvin said earlier. I've also been saying that the only team that can beat us is ourselves, and the last 2 games have kind of proven that in a weird way. And you're right, Rich. Man City is still doing the thing; they're winning, but that's expected. They do it all the time. I was even thinking that, okay, they're in another 2 competitions. It doesn't make any difference to them. I mean, they're blasting their way through. Bayern Munich, for goodness sake, are a damn good side, and they just blew them apart. They just ripped them apart. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, it doesn't matter. They can be in 15. I said, was it maybe on your pod? They can be in 15 competitions. They'll probably win 11. I mean, it's true. What the lad said earlier on the chat. They're probably one of the only teams in recent history, if at all, the only team that can potentially field 2 whole teams in the Prem, and they'll both end up top 4. They probably would. Yeah, they're that good. They've got that much depth. So, looking at it that way, we have done extraordinarily well to compete with them, to actually have them, to say, to a certain extent, to say we've got them on toast because we're the ones in the league. We've still got that small advantage. We're taking them all the way. And if we can just get something back raise these last 2 games and go back to those 7 wins on the trot and get something from that and carry that forward into the remaining games, then there's a slight hope. I'm not giving up yet. There's no way I'm giving up yet. I would like to see us win. I will like to see us win against Southampton, and then I'd like to see us get a draw at least at the Etihad, maybe even a win, and then game on.
We should.
No, I mean, I'm not going to give up while it's still mathematically possible, because you can never do that. You never know what can. Football does some strange things. We've seen it over the years, haven't we? Plenty of strange things have happened in football before. We know ourselves from '89, don't we? How strange football can be when it unexpectedly. So I'm certainly not going to give up, and I'm not going to throw in the towel or anything like that. But I think we're starting to see the flaws in the squad and the flaws in the team, and it's at the wrong time in the season. And for whatever reason, as we said, lack of depth, tiredness, maybe a manager who's a little bit too stubborn in the way he wants to play. He won't change things too much away from that. There's no plan B. West Ham, as Melvin said before, what West Ham did, they played to their strengths a lot, didn't they? They put long balls in. They tried to get us facing our own goal. And we don't really do that with teams. We've got our one way of playing, trying to pass through them. And if that doesn't work, as it stopped working after 15 minutes today, what do we do to change it? This has happened so many times. Quite often, that way of playing is enough to beat a lot of teams in this Premier League, because how quick we move the ball, we've got the players to do it. But on the occasions that it doesn't, we don't have another alternative way of breaking teams down, do we? Today, I know West Ham are a big team. Zuma's a big lad. He wins headers. Kufal strong, and they've Souček is another strong player. Antonio's an absolute tank, isn't he? They're a big team. But today, when we had a lot of possession at one point in the second half, and it's like at one point, get the ball in the box, because you never know. You never know what can happen. And, you can't keep trying to play lovely little football and expect it to work. Brilliant point, Richard.
Even the commentary that I hate, that you've always told me to ignore them and what they say. But it might have been Gary Neville. I can't remember who it was, but he said this. I know it was him, wasn't it? Spit Boy. What's his name? Carragher. And he said, He says, why are they still doing this, trying to fancy all this fancy, build up to the goal? This is a crucial time. They've got 10 minutes left. Get the ball in the box. Have people forward. Why are they not doing that? Why
anything can happen.
Yeah,
you could
you could even get a lucky deflection. Anything can happen. Exactly.
When we got the penalty, didn't we, from a corner that was half clear? The shot comes in, it's an arm, and we get a penalty from putting the ball into the box. So it kind of it does work, and that's what we don't do that enough in those situations. Last week against Liverpool, it was the same, wasn't it? We retreated back, and then when we had the ball, we were still trying to play our little football rather than sometimes taking a risk. If the ball's in the box, you've got a chance of something to happen. It might not, but you've got more chance of it happening if the ball's in the box than if you're fanning in around a bit sideways in midfield. You've got no chance of it happening there. Get the ball into the box, and who knows? And today, West Ham are not the most solidly defensive team, are they? So get the ball in their box and let them panic. Zuma's got a mistake in him. Like we're talking about Rob Holding, that Kurt Zuma, he's got mistakes in him at the back, isn't he? He can do some stupid things. Put him under pressure, stick it on him, and see what he does. We've got no one to really put him under that much pressure, I suppose, with the balls in the air.
That still makes it worse. They had 2 defenders out as well. We're talking about, we've got 2. They had 2 defenders out as well. And they, so it makes it even worse. It's hard to stomach.
It does. Marco says leadership on the pitch is what you need. Yeah, we do need some leadership, yeah. And we've got a captain, unfortunately. He's a good player, but is he really a leader on the pitch? I don't think he is. James says why I was shocked we went for Vieira, as he's another intricate, neat player. Should have got ESR on who's more. Yeah, we've said that before, James. Exactly, that's what we said. That's what when you need a goal. We've seen that Vieira is very. At the moment, he's still young and learning, and he needs to adapt physically to the league. And we've seen what he's about. And was he the player that was going to come on and make a difference in this game against a very physical team? Probably not. Whereas Smith Rowe, maybe Smith Rowe wouldn't have done either, but I'd have certainly had more. I'd have felt more excited about Smith Rowe coming on to try and win the game than Fabio Vieira, without a doubt. But again, it comes down to what this manager wants and what he feels he can get from players in the role that he wants them to play. James says, when Vieira gets off Cowangate and eats some solid food, he'll be a player. Yeah, that's what he needs. He needs a few steaks, then that's what he needs. He needs a few steaks and get himself down to the gym and bulk himself out a bit. Martinelli's done that, hasn't he? Martinelli's, he's put on some bulk, hasn't he? And that's what I think Vieira needs to do. And if he does that, I'm sure he'll be decent. But when you're in a fight for the title, you're away from home in a fairly hostile kind of atmosphere. We need players who can come on and make an impact now, not in 6 months' time.
What I don't understand is we know what was going wrong first half, and I was happy to go in 2-1 up, obviously, after what was happening. What did the manager say to him to change it? We came out the same way. Surely I was expecting us to come out and do something different, have a plan. Because if you just do things the same way, we're going to be under pressure. And there's a chance, we felt it. I did, most certainly. They're going to nick a goal or 2. So I was disappointed we didn't change anything. And I'm not just talking about the personnel. I'm talking about perhaps personnel and the way we were doing it. They were hitting these high balls. Perhaps we should have. I don't think we were. Perhaps it's because we haven't got the energy anymore. But we should have stopped hitting these long balls. We should have challenged them, got closer to their defenders. Once we put their big defenders under pressure, if they make a mistake, it's a goal. We can get a goal. Stop making these lovely long passes. It's absolute. We treated so much. In fact, with the equaliser, their centre half, a ball just bloody up in the air under no pressure, whacked it up, and the next thing you know, it's in the net. And Ramsdale should have done better with it, in my opinion. It was his near post, nice heights. It bounced first. Everything tells you that he should have done better. But anyway, that's it. That's all I've got to say now.
No, you're right. Mark C says they're spot on Melvin. They should have got a verbal rocket at half. So the same happened last week, though, didn't it? We were poor before half time, conceded a goal. We came out second half, even worse. And
but we were playing Liverpool away. I can imagine that he might have said something, and perhaps it was lost in translation because Liverpool's such a good team at home that basically they were on a high, and we can't do too much about it. West Ham weren't on a particular high; they fancied it, but we let them, fancy it. We should have done something to change the whole complexion of the game, and we didn't.
Newcastle beat them 5-1 in their last home game. So that's how all over the place they are. Do you know what I mean? And we've
what
gone
were the
there.
fans thinking? What were the fans thinking? 2-0 down after 10 minutes. Newcastle's going through their head. And it might be the players sort of, what do we do? Take our foot off the throttle. It might have been that we didn't have the energy, or it might have been we're lazy. I don't know. It might have been complacency. But whatever it is, it's got to stop. And if we ain't got the energy, then it can't stop.
I mean, Mark says there no urgency or desire shown in the second half. It seemed that way. I mean, I think desire's a tough one. I do believe that the players have got the desire to want to win the games and win the league. I'm sure they have. It didn't look that way much, did it? Once it started going away from us, it's hard though, isn't it? When you're away from home and things are going against you, it's difficult. But yeah, the urgency side of it, I want to see us at least look as. I mean, this has been. That urgency side has been a little thing that I've maybe had a criticism of Arteta's teams right from the start. There's been a lot of times over the last 2 or 3 years where I felt as though games that we're not winning, we've not shown enough urgency in the last 10 minutes to get the ball in the box and really put the other team under pressure. We just want to play sideways football. And that's still going on now. Terry says there, this is my problem with Arteta. We have no plan. But yeah, we mentioned plan B before. 100% agree. James says they're holding and Tierney ran into each other on one of the calls. Yeah, they did. Yeah, in the second half, they got in each other's way. Lack of communication at the back. Again, 2 players who aren't playing very often in the team. That's probably the reason behind that, isn't it? More than anything. James says their fans booed them at the end of the first half after wasting a free kick. I wasn't booing at the end. No, I mean, I said that. Yeah, there was one point we were 2-0 up, their fans were booing them. And it's like, how on earth do you not win that game from that point of view? Mark C says they're missing the pen, totally deflated. So it did, yeah. We could see how much that affected his game, but that's when man management comes in. Phil says just caught up with the day after work. I'm disappointed to say the least. Yeah, I think disappointed is probably a nice way of putting it. I think we're all very disappointed. And it's the second week running where we've felt this way. And this is, as I think we've kind of said tonight, I think this is worse this week, isn't it? Because West Ham are not Liverpool. And, going away to West Ham being 2-0 up, you should win the game. You should win the game. But I suppose the good news in a way is, it's not over. We're 4 points clear. We are still sort of in the driving seat. Man City have got a game in hand, but it's 4 points. And if they win their game in hand, they're not going to get 4 points when they win their game, are they? They're only going to get 3. So we do still have an advantage. We do need to obviously play a bit better. We know that. And we need to put these last 2 games behind us. Steve says that Arsenal need a goal when Arteta takes Jesus off. He made poor subs last 2 games. I don't think Jesus is quite ready for 90 minutes yet, though, is he? I don't think he is. I think that's the reason. I was surprised he went off because he had a decent game. He worked hard. Maybe he ran out of legs and they didn't want to risk him getting injury. Maybe that's why. I don't know. It did seem a little bit strange at the time, but who knows? Mark C says it's way worse this week. Yeah, it is worse this week. We can't try to pretend otherwise. It is worse this week. Of course it is. And it'll be even worse if we get a similar result on Friday, won't it, against Southampton, who we only got a draw away, didn't we, at Southampton this season, if you remember. And last season, did they not beat us? We've got a decent, not a good record against Southampton, actually, to be honest with you. So it's not, although they're bottom of the league and losing every week, they're not maybe an ideal, a bit like Brighton, they're one of our little bogey teams, aren't they? It's these South Coast teams for some reason that we seem to have problems with. But I say that the positive is we have still got games to play. We have still got the advantage in terms of points anyway. Yes, we've got Man City away to play, which is going to be, we know how tough that's going to be. But let's go there. Let's beat Southampton and let's at least go there with a 7-point lead, even though they'll have the games in hand. Let's make sure that when we, whatever the result after the game at the Etihad, let's make sure we're still top of the table, because I think that significantly that might prove to be mentally really important that we're still top after we play them away. Even though they might have game in hand, whatever it is, 2 games in hand, whatever it might be, as long as we're still top and we've still got an advantage there, it puts a little bit more pressure on them, doesn't it? And that's all we can hope to do. But we need to play better. There's no doubt about that. We cannot afford to play like this. And last week, the second half, if we're going to get anything against Man City, let's be honest, if we're at that level when we play them, that is not going to be a pretty evening, is it? It is not. We've seen a few games like that at Man City over the years. And if we play like we did today, certainly after the first 10 minutes, then that could be a really, really horrible evening. Loki says it felt Spursy today. Don't let it happen again. Yeah, I agree. Spursy is a good way to put it. We saw it was quite Spurs yesterday. That was quite funny, wasn't that Spurs game when they equalised with 2 minutes to play and then Bournemouth get a winner in stoppage time? That was hilarious. If you've not seen it, there's a great vlog out. There's a Bournemouth channel. I think they're called Back of the Net or something. It's a Bournemouth channel, and they do great vlogs out of the games. They did one yesterday at the Tottenham game. Absolutely brilliant. You want to watch that in the last few minutes when they scored a goal. There's a Tottenham fan at the top, and it's here giving it the big one to the Bournemouth fans when they made it 2-2. And he's going, you're 2-2 at home to Bournemouth, mate. What are you doing? And then literally minutes later, Bournemouth scored. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's my favourite video of the weekend. That really was good. So definitely watch that. If I think they're called Back of the Net or something. Bournemouth is a Bournemouth channel. Absolutely brilliant guys as well.
They put that tweet out, didn't they, Bournemouth, saying North London's red?
Yeah, North London is red. Yeah. You've got to love a bit of Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I'd say what is very good blog, brilliant blog, is Expressions, the Spurs supporter. Have you not seen him?
See, I don't like him. He's all this blood family, like Troops.
Yeah.
I can't be dealing with that.
He's very funny. I think he's very funny.
No, he is funny. He's quite funny, but I can't be dealing with all that blood flam, all that nonsense.
I'm not sure he goes to the games, you know, because he said something. Yeah, I'm not sure he goes to every of the home games because he said something. Hold on a minute. What do you mean? You must have gone to the game. But he's very funny, some of it. I know what you're saying. I know, I'm not too much of him, but some of the things he does come out with, it's one-liners are brilliant, some of them. Absolutely brilliant.
No, he's got ways of describing things, which is quite good. I've got to be honest, it is. But I just can't be dealing with all the way is the way he talks. I just can't be dealing with it. I just can't. So
one's enough that supposedly supports our club.
I know exactly. I know what you're saying. Yeah, this guy's different level though. So
I know he's different level. Of course he is. Yeah, I mean Troops has basically copied him anyway. We know that, but yeah, I can't really be. Yeah, I must admit some of it is quite funny. I do admit that, but I can't listen to them on 5 minutes at a time because we head's got that's it. I've had enough of that now. Mark C says the Saints are absolutely deflated right now. We need to be ruthless. 4 or 5-0 is a must. Well, 1-0 will do. Let's be honest. Mark C says we were robbed of a clear pen in the away game to Saints. Yeah, I mean I think we were, but we still. Didn't win the game, did we? When we should have done, we won again. We 1-0 up, cruising in that game, weren't we? Do you remember we got an early goal?
1-0.
Yeah, we were cruising, and then again we switched off. They got back in it in the second half, and we know what happened there. So yeah, it's going to be a game that it's going to be difficult. Terry says at least we know Rice won't be coming to us next season after seeing this display. I think Rice is a good player though. I wouldn't mind Declan Rice. I think he's decent. I thought he played well today. He did a good job in midfield, didn't he? He made Partey make mistakes. He forced Partey into mistakes, and that's what he had to do. That was his job, and he did it well. I quite like Declan Rice, I must admit. If we sign him in the summer, that would be a massive upgrade on what we've got on the bench and what we've, back up. So I would take him all day long, Declan Rice, definitely.
We ain't going to sign for a backup, are we?
Well, no, he'd be in the squad, wouldn't he? Not necessarily backup, but he'd be a squad player. Like every player that signs should be a squad player, shouldn't they? That they're part of the squad.
Well, they ain't, are they? Certain players are cast on certainties.
Well, yeah, some of them are, but some of them have to earn that right, don't they? Ben White's earned his right to play right back every week, hasn't he? He's earned that by his performances on the pitch, and I think some of the one or two of the others have as well. But yeah, I mean, Jesus was brought in as a first team starter, obviously, but we need to look at players that we can bring in that's going to boost the squad, give us more depth. And no player should feel they're going to play every single game. At the minute, some of these players they've got it too easy because they know they're going to get picked every week. We know, don't we? It's almost like it's not worth having a discussion about the team lineup every week because you know what it's going to be before you start. Unless there's an injury, there's no change to the team. Unless there's an injury or there's a shock at the last minute because a player gets ill or something and can't play. There's no changes to the team. And that's not a good situation to be in. It really is not a good situation to be in. You need to have players that are worried about their place in the team and are thinking, am I going to play next week? And you need that in the squad to keep everyone on their toes, especially when the pressure's on. That's what you need. And I don't think there'll be... I'll be amazed on Friday if there's too many changes to this team. Say Tierney for Zinchenko, probably that'll be it. Or Zinchenko in for Tierney, rather. That might be it, really. Mark says Rice would be the permanent replacement for Xhaka. Well, he probably would be long term. We don't know what the Jorginho situation is. He was only really brought in on a short term. Rice could be Jorginho's replacement, which would be an upgrade, wouldn't it? Certainly in terms of age and the future. But let's see what happens.
I
Let's get
think
this
Rice
season.
is. I think Rice is a future one in a way. I know it's crazy when you think about the price tag, but I think because of the Champions League, we're going to need players like him to bolster the depth. If say for example, just with hindsight, Xhaka and Partey now have the most amazing run in the last few games we've got. Amazing, wins us the league. They stay in the summer. I can't see Arteta changing that at the beginning of next season. So if we buy Rice, I can see what Melvin was saying. What he's going to come in and sit on the bench. I can actually see that. But if they start faltering and then something happens in the summer, I think Rice will be in. He will be in pretty much, maybe not straight away, but he will. But he'll definitely be there for Champions League and stuff. You know, that's a massive upgrade on the Europa League. We got some massive, we need it. We need it. So I can see it happening. And I thought he was good today. Actually, it's the first time I've really noticed him, and I thought he was very good. To be fair.
I've always liked Declan Rice. I think he's a very good player. He is. He's been a good player for England. He's doing a great job for West Ham. I actually do like Declan Rice. I think he'll be a good signing. But yeah, I don't think anyone should be expected to come in and get in the first team. I mean, you got to think about it. Trossard's come in, and when Jesus became fit again, what did Arteta do? He dropped the player he just brought in, not the players that have been playing in the team before. It's Trossard that got left out of the team. It's Trossard that's the one on the bench, not the players that are already there. So if we buy Declan Rice, I would expect Declan Rice to be on the bench at the start of next season, regardless. I would expect that's where he'll be. And all the other signings that we make in the summer, whoever they might be, you'd expect most of them are going to start on the bench because he's got his team, and you've got to prove yourself to get in that team. And if any little thing, he'll go back to what he likes and what he knows. So. But that's what we need to do. We need to get the bench needs to be stronger. That's the squad needs to be stronger. We know that. We've seen that quite clearly, and that's what needs to happen. Loki says, "I would get Billings from Bournemouth as a cheap squad." Do you know what? I have been banging the Billing drum for ages. I think he is a really, really good player. I do like him. Really do like. Billing, he plays for Bournemouth. He's an attacking midfielder.
Tall, skinny guy.
Yeah. He's got great hair and that. He's a great player. Yeah, he's really good. Philip Billing, his name is. I think he's Danish or something like that.
He's a decent player. I agree. Played well against us at the Emirates. You know what we ought to do, though? Save a bit of money. I could save us a lot of money. What we ought to do is get all our money together, the Arsenal, and buy Brighton.
The whole of them, the whole squad.
Yeah. They got amazing players everywhere. That winger, Japanese winger. He looks amazing. They got. I don't know.
Didn't once upon a time we bought most of Southampton, so it's still the South. It's the South Coast club again, isn't it? It was something about them.
Well, Liverpool bought all of Southampton's players, didn't they? At one time, Liverpool had like about 5 or 6 ex-Southampton players in their team, didn't they? Sadio Mane. They had who was it? Oxlade-Chamberlain. They had a few, didn't they? At one time.
They had the centre half who played from Liverpool.
Well, they've got one now, haven't they? Van Dijk played for Southampton, didn't he?
Yeah, but the other one, they bought another one who Kane destroyed one game and he never played a game for Liverpool, centre half. I think he still plays international football, the centre half they bought from Southampton. Lovren or something?
Oh, Lovren. Oh, yeah.
And they bought the little right back who played, I think, once for England.
Nathaniel Klein.
Him. Also, they bought the midfielder who went to play for Brighton now. Went from Southampton.
Lallana. Yeah.
Quite a few.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. No, I must admit, I like Brighton. I like watching them play good football. They've got some great players. Obviously, we got Trossard from there. We got Ben White from there. So I think we need to. Yeah, you're right. Maybe definitely go to Brighton and get off their team. Maybe they can keep Danny Welbeck because we've had him. We've been there, done that. I've got a T-shirt, so they can keep Danny Welbeck. But he's a bit past it now. So. We'll have a lot of the others though. I don't like that. I know he's gone now, isn't he? That what was his name? He was always having. Yeah, we don't want him either, do we?
He can't score goals anyway.
No,
without scoring goals.
But they've got that McAllister. He's good, isn't he? For Brighton, the Argentinian lad. He's a good player.
That goal I saw match of the day last night. That goal the guy scored, the winner for Brighton.
Yeah, I know. Wow, top corner. What a goal that was.
I mean, I'd take all these. I just bring them on.
Yeah, no, I would. I do like Brighton, I must admit. So, yeah, get a few of their players in something nice, wouldn't it? Mark C says, yeah, we're not far off a great squad, but instead of buying 4 or 5 players and spending 140 million, let's just buy 2 world-class guys at 70 million each, improve the quality, not just adding bodies. I think we need to do a little bit of both. I do think we need, I mean, if we just bought 2 players, no matter how good they are, we're still going to be short of depth, aren't we? And we're still going to be in a similar situation where, for example, Rob Holding's going to have to play. Because I'm assuming if you're going to buy 2 players at 70 million, they're not going to be a central defender. One of them is going to be a midfield player. One of them is probably going to be a forward player, which is great. But that still leaves us weak at the back, squad depth-wise. It still leaves us weak in other areas. So I do think we need... I would like us to buy 2 fantastic, great players, yes. And then we still need 3 or 4 squad players as well that are better than what we've got, that can improve the bench and improve the squad. Because as Neil said, the Champions League next year, we're going to use these players. We're going to need them, and they're going to get game time. So yeah, we need 2 world-class players. I agree, but we also need some squad players as well. Otherwise, we're going to be in a similar situation in terms of depth, aren't we? Unfortunately, because that's going to be where we are. But that'll be all for the summer. Let's get this season out of the way first. There's still too many things to think about between now and the end of May to worry about what we might or might not do in the summer. That can wait till the summer.
Let's worry about Southampton, all right?
Exactly. Let's worry about Southampton first, and then we can worry about the transfer window when the season's finished. I mean, looking at Southampton and Melvin, what are you thinking? Are we going to bounce back and give them a good hiding, or is this lack of confidence going to come back and haunt us again?
I think we'll go 2-0 up and we might be able to hold on.
And so we win 2-1?
No, 2-0. 2-0.
Oh, 2-0. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll take the 2-0 all day long. Neil, what are you thinking? I know what you're thinking. We will bounce back and we'll hammer them, won't we?
We've got no choice. We have to. Otherwise, it's over as far as I'm concerned. If we drop points against Southampton, that's it for me. So we've got no choice. So, yeah, I will always go for a win. I will say 3-1. 3-1 on this game.
Yeah. Sorry, 3-1 at 3-1.
To be honest, Richard, I'll take a 1-0 own goal. I just want the 3 points.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, Mark's gone 5-0. I mean, what I would say is actually usually I would say yes. I mean, I've said it all season. I'll take a scrappy 1-0. But I do think in the circumstances, with the way that we've played in the last 2 weeks, I do think we maybe need a performance as well ahead of Man City. If we go into even if we scrape a 1-0 against Southampton playing really badly, on the back of these last 2 games, going to Man we need. I think as Melvin said it before, I think a good performance against Southampton, even if we only win 2-0, but if we play well again, we look really good and confident and sharp, and we create a few chances and
the energy back.
The energy, yeah. Then I think that's going to be good going into the Man City game. Obviously, a 5-0, as Mark has put, would be fantastic. That could be what we need. But it is this game more than anything, I think, is about the performance as much as anything. Yeah, we've got to win the game, of course, but it needs to be a good performance as well. I don't want to see a scrappy win in this one particularly. I think we need a good win, a good performance, and then it'll give us the confidence to take to City. Terry's gone 4-1. We're not very confident. Why have you gone 4-1 then? Not very confident. It's like a 1-0 draw or a scrappy 1-0, isn't it? Not a 4-1 is quite confident for me. But anyway, we'll take the 4-1. Of course we will. I must admit, I would be shocked if we don't beat Southampton. I've got to be honest. I would be shocked if we don't. I think we will. We're at home, and I think we'll win. I think we'll probably end up winning reasonably comfortably. I'm going to go 3-0. I think we will beat them pretty easily in the end. But for me, we've got to play a lot better in that game. Even, the 3 points are massive. Yes, we have to win, but I think the performance is really important, and we have to win that game in some sort of style as well, and get our rhythm back so that we can go to Man City and then feel like we've got a real big chance. Not only the players, but I think us as fans, we want to feel that we've got a big chance of going there and getting a result. And if we play well against Southampton, I think that will make a massive difference, and put these last 2 performances behind us a little bit. Let's hope so. So yeah, not the sort of result that we wanted to be talking about tonight. I'm sure we was all hoping for the 3 points and a good performance and whatnot, but unfortunately, life isn't always like that. And it is what it is. We do still have the advantage at the top. We have to bear that in mind, and we have to try to look at the positives, as I know Neil always tries to do. And yeah, we still haven't lost for ages, and that's another positive as well. We still haven't lose. Two difficult-ish away games, tricky away games, and we haven't lost either of them. We should have won them both, but at least we didn't lose any of them. So I suppose that's a positive to look at. And we do have a home game against a team at the bottom of the league coming up on Friday, so we will look forward to that and hope that we can, put these behind us and really go for it in that game. So yeah, I mean, we're not going to be doing an Arsenal review tomorrow. A bit pointless, really, because we've pretty much done it now, so that's fine. I'll be back, obviously, or actually, Wednesday. We've got the Arsenal women playing Man United, at top of the table clash. That is going to be good. So join us for that on Wednesday.
No, really.
Yeah, well,
I'll have to rearrange it. I was going to do my hybrid matters this Wednesday. I'll have to change it.
Can you do it Tuesday?
I'll have to find out. I'll have to ask my guest.
See if you can do it Tuesday, because obviously the next 2 Wednesdays there's games on.
I checked on that. I don't know what to see it. I checked.
No, because you might that game, the Wednesday night game this week for the women was rearranged. It was originally next weekend, but we got the Champions League semi-final, so they brought it forward. They only did it maybe a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago. It was quite a late change to the fixtures. It was a bit of a mess around, really.
I'll ask my guest to see what can be done.
If you can do, I mean, Tuesday or Thursday, or any night really, apart from Wednesday and Friday, because there's games Wednesday and Friday. Any other night, you can do it any other night. Obviously, next week's going to be a similar situation, isn't it, with the Man City game?
All right, leave it with me. Leave that with me.
Bit of a chew. But anyway, so we'll sort that. I say hopefully we'll get a Hybrid Matters squeezed in as well this week, which would be great because that's always such a great show. So we'll hopefully get that one on as well. Obviously, we've got the women's game Wednesday. We've got the Southampton game Friday, which means there's a weekend off next week because the women aren't playing. Oh no, it's of course the Champions League semi-final on Sunday. So actually we've got that as well. Wow, what a busy few days it's going to be. Important games coming right, left, and centre, which is good. And if you're around at 7 o'clock tonight, I am on Talk TV again, talking about this game and various other bits and bobs with Mark Saggers. That's going to be good. So if you're around at 7 o'clock for that, join us for that. There'll be a West Ham guest there. The last couple of weeks it's been an ex-player, so maybe it might be an ex-West Ham player. Might be on. That'd be good, wouldn't it? So I look forward to that. So join us there at 7 if you can, and we'll be back very soon. Obviously, thanks to Melvin. Good to see you again. I know not the happiest of circumstances, but you know we have to deal with what we get, don't we?
Yeah. All right, we go again. We go again.
We go again, exactly. And of course, Neil as well. Good to see you back again on the channel. And again, so not the result we wanted, but what can you do?
Look, let's get that positive energy back again. Come on, we've had 2 disappointing games. Let's fire back on Friday. Yeah. Let's get the train back on its tracks, and let's give. Even if we're not to win it, let's push City all the way to the last.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that at the minimum. Let's make them work for it at least. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Let's make them work for it. You're right. Yeah, and like you said, if we can take it to the last day, then what more can you do? That's it. The most important. Exactly. So let's do that. Come on. Yeah, let's do that. We're feeling positive now. Neil's got us in a positive mood. So that's great. So we'll see you soon. I'll be back Wednesday. Maybe Melvin might be back earlier than that with the Hybrid Matters. We'll let you know about that. I will see you very, very soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Terry says, great show, chaps. A lot better than the show Arsenal put on today. Well, it wasn't hard, was it, Terry? Let's be honest. Apart from the first 10 minutes, we'd have actually gone some to have got worse than that. Terry says, more important, come on, you go girls on Wednesday. Well, it's not more important, mate. It's equally important. Obviously, we want the women to win as well, don't we? So let's hope that they can win the title as well. That'd be great, wouldn't it? But that's a big game Wednesday, so definitely join us for that because that is going to be really exciting. Man United top of the league in the women, Arsenal third, but 3 points behind with a game in hand. So that's how big that game is Wednesday. So that's going to be great. So yeah, join us for that. And obviously Friday as well, the Southampton game. Well, can we bounce back? We need to. We need a win. Let's do it. Come on, Gunners. Come on, you Gunners. Let's have it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to Melvin and Neil. We will see you soon. Take it easy. Ta-da. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Real Martinelli. It's now with Granit Xhaka. Is it going to be the third goal? It is the third goal. Granit Xhaka with it. That seals it.